Confession time. I used to be an addict. Daily use. I guess you could have called me functional, although I would say that my use was absolutely out of control. Not a day passed without me having 3 to 400 grams of sugar, and on some occasions I had more than a pound. Like when there was parties and celebrations and stuff. According to psychiatry.org, addiction is a complex condition, a brain disease, that is manifest by compulsive substance use despite harmful consequences. By calling addiction a brain disease, we give people the impression that something's wrong with someone's brain when or if they become addicted to something. That allows us to dismiss the idea that we could be addicted because, well, clearly there's nothing wrong with me. Now, that definition only refers to substances and ignores behaviors altogether. So, like, for example, it didn't talk about gambling, it didn't talk about sex, which are real things that people become addicted to, and it didn't talk about food. But now this opens another complex idea. How could anybody be addicted to sex or eating? The idea that these are normal things that we should want to do, and therefore, isn't it more excitement than it is addiction if we're looking to do it a lot? And that confusion about how someone could be addicted to normal behavior allows us to see them as defective. And therefore, of course, something's wrong with them, right? Something's wrong with their brain. Now, as soon as I see somebody as defective, now I've opened the door that I can feel okay with pitying them. That's not their fault. There's nothing they can do. It's okay. They'll find someone who can love them with these flaws, or reject them. That glutton. Why don't they just stop eating like everybody else? I stopped eating. You stop eating. But then what happens when you end up in their situation? Obese and still eating. Are you just a glutton, or is your brain defective? To truly understand what's happening, we need to look at that definition again. The important word was not disease. It was compulsion. Compulsive is an irresistible urge, especially one that is against one's conscious wishes. So now I'm going to ask you, do you have any compulsions? Take a minute. Don't answer right away. Think about it. Put it in the comments below. Anything that you can think of that you get pulled, so compelled to do, even though logically your mind is telling you you should not be doing that. I know that I did not think I had any kind of compulsions. And I surely didn't think I was addicted to anything. And then 4 years ago, I tried to lower my sugar intake from 375, I know, ridiculous amount of sugar, down to 20 grams of carbs per day. Didn't matter what kind of, so process, not process. I wanted them under 20. And I was thinking, it's just food, no big deal. Well, let me tell you, it was a huge deal. First, I felt like I was starving, even though I was eating. I was ridiculously irritable. I was overheating. I felt restless. I had a massive headache, and I had trouble concentrating on anything besides finding food. Those are withdrawal symptoms. Now, after that happened to me, I started to notice that when I told people that I was because I got through it. Spoiler alert, I got through it. When I started to tell people, because they noticed the weight loss, what I had done to lose the weight, and I told them that I cut my carbohydrate intake from 300 down to 20. So basically, I don't eat bread, I don't eat chips, I don't eat cookies, I don't eat. When I started to tell them I'm only eating healthy foods now, the first statement that they would make is something along the lines of, I could never give up, insert their favorite food here. But then I would go forward and say, I've explained my situation, right? I would say, well, of course you would give it up if you had pain like I had, right? Like, of course, it makes sense. It's a no-brainer. Of course you'd give it up. And they continue to say, nope, 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 I wouldn't give it up. I couldn't do what you're doing. But what was weird to me is that I actually was encountering people who were trying to give up these things and couldn't. They really couldn't do it. So they were stuck in their addiction. Wellness warrior, keep in mind, they weren't saying, I wouldn't want to give it up. They weren't saying how hard it's going to be to have to give it up, or how hard it would be if I tried to give it up. They were saying, I could never give it up. And in fact, how often have we known people who, in the face of liver shutdown, in the face of lung problems, continue to drink or continue to smoke, because addiction is out of your control. You are compelled to eat the cookie, or in my case, the chocolate bar. And now when I look back, I can see it. I can feel it still, that frantic feeling I used to have of trying to find the chocolate bar, thinking about going to the store. That feeling that I need to have chocolate to feel happy. I need to have chocolate to relax. I need to have something before I go to bed. I need it so I can get through this tough period of time that I'm living. But in fact, whatever your addictive thing is, was it really impacting your bad situation in a positive way? Usually, no, it wasn't. It wasn't helping you to solve the thing that was upsetting you. Let's look a little bit more closely at addiction. When we engage our addiction, neurotransmitters are released in the brain, and these neurotransmitters cause us to feel good. Dopamine produces a pleasurable sensation and is also involved in the anticipation that we have that good feeling is going to happen again when I take the substance again. Serotonin is released, which helps you to feel happy, and there are opiates that are released that diminish your ability to feel pain. So I engage my addiction and I feel sensations of pleasure, emotionally happy, and my physical pain symptoms diminish. So what's the problem, right? Well, let's imagine that my spouse and I are in a particularly difficult part of our relationship. We're constantly fighting and spending very little time together, and I'm turning to food. Typically, the foods that I'm going to choose when I'm not feeling very well are going to be high in sugar. So ice cream, cookies, chocolate, those are the go-to specialties for relationship problems. Now, I recall learning in university that they were able to demonstrate that the parts of your brain that are sensitive to drugs light up when you have sugar. And that research has been replicated several times. What I want you to think about is that sugar, so carbs, light up the same part of your brain as do drugs and alcohol, no matter where the sugar comes from. Processed food or healthy fruit, same reaction. And the sweeter the taste, or higher the carb content, the faster you react. That's why pizza can get you. It's still very high in carb. So just like any other addiction, you have the substance, in this case sugar, you feel emotionally and physically good, and then you begin to anticipate that the next time I have it, I'm gonna feel like this again. And now your brain, because it wants that hit, dopamine, serotonin, opiates, it wants it. It starts pushing you, and you're thinking about food, breakfast, lunch, supper, snacks, food, and it's pushing you to eat. Does that sound familiar? Addiction doesn't happen overnight with most things. Usually we do something new and we like the sensation that we get or the result that we get, and we begin to do it more. We are wired to do things that feel good because it helps us to reproduce, to stay alive because we eat. Usually things that feel good are solving a problem that we have or putting us in a good situation. But what happens when, from a very early age, we are eating high carb foods? We feed our children rice and pasta and potatoes all the time. Those foods don't taste sweet to us because we've had them so regularly. Our palate doesn't taste them as sweet anymore. But the sugar in those foods still have an impact on our health, on our brain. That cephalic response is still happening. We are training our children to respond to sugar. I can't live without bread is equivalent to saying I'm addicted to sugar. Because believe me, you can live without bread, cookies, cake, chips, a French fry. You can live without all of that stuff when you know that your health is truly on the line. In order to walk away from bread, you need to be able to acknowledge that you are not in control of the amount of sugar that you are eating. You need to be able to acknowledge that you've been indulging your addiction without even knowing it. And you need to acknowledge that many of the health issues and excessive weight that you're carrying continue to exist because of the excessive amounts of sugar that you are eating. Set yourself a goal to reduce the amount of sugar that you are eating. This video right here is going to help you to crush your carb addiction. Wellness Warrior, I'm always so happy that you come back. And if you're new, welcome. Check out the description for videos that are going to help you to get on the road to health. And also there are some ways down there that you can help to support the channel. I can't wait to talk to you again next week.